All right, YouTube, Repo Man 64, and we're back, and we're still here. So, I've been going through a bunch of different scenarios, trying to, of course, figure out what's going on. And a lot of watchers have come up with different ideas as to why, but I must tell you that 2023 is the year because of the Psalms. The Psalm 124 is speaking directly to the Jews and how, had it not been for God, they would not have won that war. And at this point where we are now, we haven't seen God step up and wipe everyone out around them to protect them from this war. In Psalm 123, we see, look up because now is the time. As with everything, literally everything I've seen when it comes to this calendar or timeline that I've built, everything appears. For example, when Israel was attacked, they were already in their 8th day of tabernacles. It had begun the night before at nightfall. When they were attacked, they couldn't complete tabernacles. They did not finish their 8th day of tabernacles because they were attacked, but they were attacked at 6 o'clock in the morning, which is, what was that? That's a good 14 hours after they had already entered into the 8th day of tabernacles. So they only had 10 hours left, but it was taken from them. So as we see and we go forward, I mean, the impossibility, that right there alone, the impossibility that happened exactly 50 years later on the last day of tabernacles is mind-blowing. It's spectacular. It's not something that could be planned out. In other words, just saying, well, they decided to do it on that day. No, they could have chosen any day of tabernacles, but they chose that specific moment to go in. So we're just continuing to watch and look, and watching all of the other channels and all of the people sending me information in. I would say that we're in the time. We only have, what do we have left? We have like 15 days left in this month. This day is almost over, so 2 weeks left. So based on what I've seen, I believe God is going to wait until the last possible second. So of course, over the last 4 days, I've taken a lot of pictures. I want to go through them. Spinebreaker helped me. Commander Kelly helped me with another thing that I was looking at. And some people in the comment section sent me stuff. Sister Sandy has sent me a new timeline fixing that problem with Noah. I had 7 days on there. She made it 8 because it says, and I'll show you, in the Bible, on the self-same day, meaning that God waited until that entire week was over before he did anything on that self-same day 1 week later, the 8th day. We find the 8th day happens several times on the timeline, and I'm about to show that to you as well. So all I can do is encourage you to keep your nose in the Bible and keep trying to help figure this out. I don't do this alone. I get a lot of help from a lot of different people. Watch a lot of channels to see what they're saying and try to figure out where we're at. I do believe the timeline is accurate because of the Day of Equal Parts. Definitely happens on March the 16th. And when you count it out, it can't land as perfectly as it does. And when it does land on Halloween, the flood, just like the flood says, when the flood started until the moment that the flood began to recede, 150 days, you land on the cross, which must be on March 30th. This year, they're way out. They're not abiding by what the Bible said. Of course, they won't. But my thought is that maybe, because Jesus was here, and Steve Fletcher made a really decent video here a little while ago, that maybe because when Jesus was here, he was on the Julius Caesar calendar. Render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's. Could it be that he's following the Caesar calendar, which, if So if that's true, then we would be looking at tomorrow. So let me show you some pictures and we'll get into this real quick. That's Kevin. I'll show you that at the end, helping me out with some stuff. Remember that from the moment they were invaded until today, it's 70 days. I showed you this 4 days ago in my last video. From today, you go 40 days and we land on January the 11th. That is very significant because that's Shavat 11. Shavat is the 11th month. Of the 11th day of the 11th month is the same day as January 25th. A lot of stuff was pointing towards that. But the problem is, if God has decided, I will use the Julian calendar, or Jesus has decided I'm using the Julian calendar because the dates that we're counting in the Julian calendar will land on tomorrow as being the great eighth day. In my opinion, he's not using the old Hebrew calendar from previous to before the Julius Caesar calendar, which means that in order for it to line up with Psalms, it must happen before December 31st. It must happen before then if we're using the Julian or the Gregorian timeline. Again, Jesus was on the Julian calendar when he was here. So, that being said, if he has decided to use the Enoch timeline, for example, we are already past this Hanukkah. We've already passed Hanukkah, if he's decided to use that. So I don't know. But if he has decided to use that, we would have to wait until March 16th, which is actually the last day of 5783. And if you add those lost or forgotten 210 years, it's the last day of 5993, leaving exactly 7 years before the 1,000-year millennium. So I don't think we're waiting until March 16th. I don't want to even go that far out. I don't even want to think about going into 2024 because I believe the Psalms are lining up to our calendar. The Julian and the Gregorian are only, from what I can tell at this point, 1 day off. And I'll show you that in a second. So I showed you this before. In order for Jesus to be born on everybody says, oh, he was born in tabernacles. You only have to count 40 weeks. Again, Jesus is going to fulfill every second of his time. He is not going to allot for Satan to complain. Well, you didn't go the full term. He will always go the full term. So 280 days from his conception, or 280 days before his birth on September the 30th, the first day of Tabernacles, would have been December the 25th, Christmas Day. So I did the math, and I'll show you. December the 25th, if you conceive there on December the 25th, if you add the 40 weeks, the 280 days, you will land on September the 30th every single time. Moving this around would simply, if you moved the calendar forward, which they did it by 3 weeks this year, 3 weeks. That means Jesus would have been in the womb for 43 weeks. It's not possible. And if you say, well, Jesus was conceived on Hanukkah, and then you go ahead and count 280 days, you're going to see Jesus being born exactly 45 weeks or 44 weeks later. It's impossible. It's not possible. He completed his 40 weeks and that was it. It has to be solid. The dates are as solid as God is. God doesn't change from today, tomorrow, or yesterday. The dates are solid. So, all right. A lot of talk. I watched this movie. It left me confused. And the reason it does is because it doesn't tell you exactly what happened. You have to guess what happened. Why did the kid lose all of his teeth? Well, he got radiation poisoning. What was that loud squeal? That's something to do with the nuclear blast going off. All of these things, and apparently Obama helped make this movie. So what they're telling us is when it happens, nobody's going to know what happened. Just like the people in this movie, there was a little insight for the owner of the house, but everyone else was like, I'm guessing. The only one that seemed to be prepared was the guy that was a prepper. He had his house all prepped and ready to go. Everybody else was just running around like they didn't know what was going on. So, is this like this? I Pet Goat. It came out on November the. Oh, this came out November the 20th. Is that right? November the 22nd, 2023. Yes, that's when this came out. November 22nd, 2023. This is I Pet Goat. It came out on June 24th, 2012. They were also warning. I think Satan has to warn us. I don't think he can just go off and do it. As a matter of fact, I think they're prideful. That's what caused Satan to fall. He doesn't think that God is going to follow through with putting him in the lake of fire. He does. I don't think he believes that that's actually going to happen. I think he actually believes that based on God's grace and mercy, that he will not have to pay, that he will get away with this because he is using God's kindness and patience in a way where he thinks he's going to win this. So June 24th, November 22nd, I believe that's 6 months apart, isn't it? Something to that effect. If you counted from June, was that June, July, August, September, October, November? That's 5 months, 5 months apart. And then it happened in 2012, and this is 2023. So 11 years and 5 months between these two dates here. And we're at 11 years and 6 months now on our calendar. So I've showed you this before. God began creation at nightfall. It says, and the evening and the morning were the first day. He began at nightfall. So we understand that everything, and again, Israel was invaded first thing in the morning, 14 hours after nightfall. So he waits the entire time. No one will say, God, why did you cut that off? Why did you shorten that? And he will say, he will show that even the 6 months that he moved time back, we're repeating 6 months. He's moved it back to make sure that nothing was missed. Every T was crossed, every I was dotted, and everything is perfect. Now this is, let's see, the first day, and yeah, there was light. Now something happens here, and this is what I've tried to figure out is why God worded it this way. He said, and God said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day and from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. So whatever he created there was finished. He made it, or he created it. But then it's almost like he made the sun and the moon, but then he set them in place to begin to count time. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. He made stars also. So something he created here could be used to count seasons and days and years. It's just, to me, something happened in between these 2 points, between 14 and 16, when he says, and it was so. It appears he finished something. What did he finish? What did he finish that set up seasons for days and years? What did he finish? And then he made the two great lights, the sun and the moon. So I don't know. Okay, as you know, right now, this airplane, several of them, have been being refueled up in the air. They are nuclear sniffing airplanes, and they're up there flying around. I heard this on the Prepper channel, so I took a screenshot of it so you could see. This is very rare that this is going on right now. It's almost like they're preparing for some spectacular event. Does Satan know the exact moment of the rapture? Did God hold this moment secret to himself so that Satan didn't know the exact second? It is going to happen. It would be like trying to catch a bullet. Honestly, for Satan, it would be like trying to catch a bullet. It's going to happen so fast. You can't catch a bullet in your teeth. No, nobody can. You can't, catch a bullet with your fingers. And that's how the rapture is going to occur. It's going to happen so fast. But I think Satan thinks that he is the greatest, thing God created, and he might be able to stop this. But I don't know that he knows the exact moment. I know he knows probably around where it's going to happen, just no less than we. We know it's about to happen. We see the world events going on, this huge solar event that's headed towards Earth right now. They're saying that a lot of stuff's going to be knocked out. I think they're saying tonight or tomorrow. And then you have this nuclear planes flying around. You have all kinds of stuff indicating to us that it's about to happen, but we don't have an exact moment. I want an exact moment. I want to come on here and say, hey, this is the time it's going to happen. That's it. Go outside. Now, Cool Cat gave me this. I sent him a text, and he sent me this. I asked him, where's that verse where when Satan arrives in hell, he will be powerless. His wings will be clipped. And here it describes him between 10 and 17. Let me see. Did I do that wrong? No. Yeah, I didn't get 17 in there. Yeah, I didn't. So, but you get the gist of it. You can go read it for yourself. Isaiah 14:10 through 17. And they shall speak and say unto thee, art thou also become weak as we are? He's going to become like a man. Art thou become like unto us? Thy pomp is brought down to the grave, and the noise of thy vials, the worm is spread under thee, and the worms cover thee. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? He read this. I think the Bible is the greatest book ever in print that's sold and distributed more copies than any other book on the planet. Satan has read this. I just don't think he believes it. I don't think he thinks God's going to follow through with this. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will also sit upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds, and I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. And they that see thee shall narrowly look upon thee and consider thee. So we see in the story that Satan is just going to be a nobody. And he's not going to have, a lot of people are like, he rules the underworld. No, he doesn't. He rules this world. When he gets down there, people are going to be looking at him like, you're the guy that caused all this problem? You're the guy that did all this? You're nobody. You'll be able to literally get into a fist fight with this guy. He will be that guy that when he had power, he thought he was somebody, but then brought down to nothing. He's nobody. He is a bully because he is, I don't know, a 5 foot guy, tall guy. I don't want to say that to be mean to anybody who's 5 foot tall, but I'm just saying he's got a Napoleon complex probably. All right, the Psalms. This is where Cool Cat has brought us many times, and I have to agree with him, and I read them myself, and it's clear. Psalms 123 is for the year 2023, and I think it's for the Julian and the Gregorian calendar. I do not think it's for the old Hebrew calendar of 5783 or 5993. This is 123, 2023. And I think this is speaking to right now, and it literally has 14 days to materialize or for a rapture to occur, for this year to be viable, for us to be correct that it's going to be in 2023. a song of decrees. Unto thee I lift up mine eyes, and thou that dwellest in the heavens, behold, as the eyes of servants look unto the hand of their masters, and as the eyes of a maiden unto the hand of her mistress, so our eyes wait upon the Lord our God, until that he have mercy upon us. Have mercy upon us, O Lord, have mercy upon us, for we are exceedingly filled with contempt. Our soul is exceedingly filled with the scorning of those that are at ease, and with the contempt of the proud. I've said this 100 times. There will be no pride in heaven. I could say that another 100 times. There will be no pride in heaven. I will not get to heaven and get a high five saying, you figured it out. It's not going to happen. There is no pride in heaven. We're all going to show up there crying because in our minds we missed it, or we passed, and it's another 20 years, and then all of a sudden, bam, it happens, and then we're going to just show up bewildered. And I have a feeling, I know I'm going to, I'll be like, was I even close? Was my timeline right? How about everybody else? Was Psalms right? We're going to show up bewildered, crying, thankful, confused, and he's going to put us at ease and say whatever he's going to say to allow us to know that, well done, good and faithful. And it is going to be, there will be an understanding. We'll be like, oh, that's why. We don't know what that is now. In the meantime, we're going to continue to shake that present. We're going to sit in the back seat and calculate our way to Disney World. Children who are not super geniuses, like I wasn't as a child. Actually, I did calculate the time, and I also accounted for stops and fuel ups and hotels. I knew exactly, or more or less, when we were going to get there, and I was usually pretty right because I just did numbers like that. But most kids don't do that. My brother didn't do that. My little sister didn't do that. But I would go look at I knew how many miles it was. The sign was right there telling me how far it was, and I calculated the distance, and based on the miles per hour that we were going, how long it would take, and how much fuel was in the car, all the stuff. So I was able to calculate pretty close as to when we were getting there, but I didn't know exactly. And so, again, when we get to heaven, there will be no pride. Hang in there, stay strong, stay faithful, keep watching, and enjoy the ride. Because on our way there, I think, was it was Patrick Watchman. Patrick, I'm sorry, I can never get your channel in my head. It's Patrick. He's always in Cool Cat's lives like I am, in their chatting. Patrick, somebody will put it in the comments section, and I apologize. I know it's Watchmen. It's Watchmen. It'll come to me as we go through this. All right. So we read here in 123, we're lifting up our eyes. He's going to put us at ease. He will not deal with any pride. There will be no pride. But then we get to this one, 2024. 2024 is in 14 days. I think the Psalms line up with our year now, not with 5784. Nobody's using that. The entire planet, with the exception of a few small areas around the world that are still using the Julian calendar, are using the Gregorian calendar. The Song of Degrees of David. If it had not been the Lord who was on our side, now may Israel say, if it had not been the Lord who was on our side, when men rose up against us, then they had swallowed us up quick when their wrath was kindled against us. Then the waters had overwhelmed us, the stream had gone over our soul. Remember the waters? What did they call this invasion? Like a flood? Then the waters had overwhelmed us, it already happened. The waters had overwhelmed us. The stream had gone over our soul. Then the proud waters had gone over our soul. These people who were invading, did you see that guy? Everybody saw that guy. There's no way you didn't see that. It's so hard to feel compassion for that guy. I try to have compassion, honestly, but when comedians get up there and make fun or mock Jesus on stage, and then they just pass out, and the world's like, and the comedian's like, well, I was dehydrated, that's what happened. You cursed Jesus. That's what happened. You fell over and passed out because you cursed Jesus. And then this guy gets up there. I think he died. I think he actually died. He gets up there and says, Allah will punish Israel. For what? You invaded them. I can't even. You invaded them. They deserve to go in and just completely eradicate Hamas. Get rid of them all completely. Flood the tunnels. Stay in there. Don't leave. Who cares what the United Nations says? According to Commander Kelly, Israel will be a world power directly after the rapture. They will be the world power. They will be in charge of everything. So stay in there. Get them all out. The Bible talks about Gaza, does it not? Does it not say that they're going to wipe it out? And that's exactly what we're seeing. They have taken control of most of Gaza. They're flooding those tunnels and getting the rats out of the tunnels. The rats will surface, and hopefully they will take them out. Like I always say, let God sort it out later, and he will. All right. So I believe that the year 2024 is what this is speaking to, and that, again, is 14 days away. So we are running out of time for this. Oh, I wanted to show this to you. Hundreds of years passed before the Gregorian calendar finally became the calendar most people use. This created a unique time in history where there were two dates used by some countries: the Julian date, also called the Old Style date, and the Gregorian date, also called the New Style date. There was almost 350 years of overlapping dates between the two calendars, ranging from, remember, 1582 is when they moved. They started the Gregorian calendar. They moved it back to the 1920s. That 1920s, that's not very long ago. You know, it was before I was born, but still, it wasn't that long ago. Different countries adopted the Gregorian calendar at different times during this period, with a few even transitioning much later. To avoid confusion during this time, historians sometimes had to write down both dates when keeping record of something. Here's an example from Matt Rosenberg on Thuco. So I didn't take a picture of it, but you can see that this Gregorian calendar is only 500 years old. The calendar made by Julius Caesar, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, was in play during the time of Jesus. And it counts wrong. They've proven it. That's why the Gregorian calendar didn't change the date by 10 days to confuse everyone. They changed it because, and I never will understand why January 1st was used. So, I don't know why I took a picture of this. Oh, I know why. Here at the bottom, this is when Adam was removed from the garden. There are several books. The Jubilees, Book of Jubilees is one of them, that state that he was removed. It says on the new moon. Now, I've looked at the translations of these, and the word Yarich or Selene is not used. So new month, it's Chodesh or Hodesh, however they want to pronounce that, is actually the word that's used right there. So he was removed on the first day of the fourth month. All right, the Julian calendar is the one that was introduced in the year 46 BC by Julius Caesar to all of the Roman Empire. It is the calendar that was used during the life of Jesus Christ and at the time of the early church there. So, is God still using the Julian calendar? Steve Fletcher seems to think so, and I don't know if I disagree since my calendar has passed already. All right. Now, it takes 3,300 years for the Gregorian calendar to lose one day, to be off by one day. I don't know if it's one day less or one day more, but it takes 3,300 years, which I thought was a very unique number. If you count back 2,000 years, if you were to use our calendar now and count back 2,000 years to the time of Christ, you would be approximately a day off, because we're already 2,000 years into this. So I look back. This is a Gregorian calendar as it would look 2,000 years ago. It's a day off, which makes it the wrong year. So Jesus goes to the cross. So imagine this is the year 30 AD. It has to happen. And when they counted this back, they simply counted back. They didn't take or remove any 10 days on this like they did in 1582. But if you count back, you can see where Jesus goes to the cross on a Wednesday, March the 30th. He rises on a Sunday, April the 3rd. The correct calendar will always have the correct days. In other words, 30 AD doesn't have the correct days, but it's off. So it tells me that we're off by, in other words, in 30 AD is when Jesus went to the cross. All right. We know this still works in 29, which is 30, because September the 11th is the first day of creation, which is a Sunday. All right. Just wanted to point that out. This is from Steve Fletcher. Okay. You can see down here in purple, December the 16th at sunset, which has already happened, until sunset on the 17th, which is still in play, when Israel's sunrise happens, just like it did when the war started. They were already 14 hours into it. What time does this? I didn't look. What time does the sunrise tomorrow morning in Israel? What time does that translate to us? Is it probably something to the effect of, I don't even know. It's 7:30 maybe. So that would make it what, 10:30 here? I think 10:30 here. Is 7:30? No, it'd be 12:30 here. Midnight. I don't know what time the sun comes up over there. I'd have to look at it, but it would be 7 hours earlier for me here in Eastern Standard Time. That would be a link. It would be a matchup. It would be symmetric. So that is interesting. That's interesting. Would Jesus still be using this calendar that he used back then to count exact specific days? I don't know. All right, so I showed you this before in Genesis 7. Noah, it says Noah entered the ark and then the rain began. And there's been a lot of confusion, a lot of discussion over this. Did he enter the ark 7 days earlier? Or did he enter the self-same day when the rains began? And the answer is he entered 7 days earlier on whatever day it was, a Tuesday, let's say. This self-same day simply means 1 week later, again on a Tuesday, is when God shut the door and the flood began. So when God looks at this period of time, he says, this day, this is the day. But he's speaking of the entire week. He's speaking of completing that entire week. So, Sister Sandy fixed it for me. I spoke about this in my last one. We have 3 types of tabernacles that happen. The first one, of course, is the day Jesus was born. He was born on Sukkot, on Tabernacles. That happened on September the 30th. I also had her move the calendar over by 1 day because it was getting confusing, explaining that he was born the night of the 29th at sunset. For us, it would still be the 29th, but for them, it would be the 30th. So at some point, he was born on September the 30th. 8 days later, he was circumcised, and he was circumcised on October the 8th. The self-same day. This entire process, this entire week is important to God because he says you will do this for 7 days and then we'll discuss the great 8th day as the great 8th day. The same thing happens here on Noah's flood. You can go on any calendar and look, October 25th to October the 31st. is 8 days. So we have a form of a second tabernacle up there with the red arrows pointing right and left, because Noah enters the ark. It's a temporary dwelling. He's going into a temporary dwelling. Inside there is everything he needs to survive this flood for 1 year and 10 days. And he's in this ark. And on the self same day, so whatever day October the 25th was in that year when it happened, the same exact day, 7 days later, 8 days later, would be the day God shut the door and the flood began. And here we are again. This is the tabernacle that Cool Cat found and says it relates, and he has a very good video showing why tabernacles relates to it. Hanukkah begins on a day, Kislev 24, December the 8th. And 8 days later, on the self same day, it ends on December the 16th. Now, on this timeline, it has ended. On the Julian timeline that I just showed you, that ends tomorrow. It also ends on the 16th. For me, it ends at midnight in just another 5 hours. For the 16th to completely end worldwide for Eastern Standard Time, that is around 4 o'clock in the morning. So is he going to wait until the very end of the 16th for the entire world? I don't know. There are Jewish people all over this world, so I don't know. In Israel, Hanukkah has ended. At nightfall, they lit the last candle. So today is the day that Adam was removed from the garden. Like I showed you earlier, he was removed on Tevet 1, December the 16th. But if we're a day off on the Julian calendar, then we're looking at tomorrow. All right. Thank you, Sister Sandy, for putting that in there. All right. For the vision is yet for an appointed time. We see that appointed time and we try to assign it to the moon. That is not what it says. It is and I asked Spinebreaker to help me out, which is, again, a lot of these people in the background doing a lot of help with us don't get enough credit. So I want to give credit to Spinebreaker for always being there. I mean, as soon as I text, the guy works nights, I work days, so it's really hard on both of us, but he seems to always be there to answer these kinds of questions, and this is no less. He did that today for me. The vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak. You've heard a lot about this. At the end it shall speak. We are learning all of these things right here at the end. We are 14 days, for my opinion, at the end of this year. I don't think it lines up with 5783 or 5993. I think it lines up with 2023. Wait for it, because it will surely. It says, Spinebreaker looked this up for me. Let me reread this. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. So from our perspective, I think it tarries. But from God's perspective, it doesn't. There's an exact moment when this is going to take place. And it will surely happen. I mean, there's no doubt in anyone's mind that's been watching that this event is going to happen. It is going to happen. We just don't know exactly when. All right. I asked him to look up that word for me, appointed time. I looked up the word kaseh, the one that I've been saying means appointed time. I looked it up in Strong's. He does more exhaustive research than I do. I just quickly did this. 3677, kaseh, Greek Hebrew definitions, Bible tools. Kaseh is spelled K-E-C-E-H or K-E-H-S-E-H. Apparently from 3680, properly fullness or full moon. Of course, they're going to translate it as moon because what it actually means is appointed time. All right. 3677, that's the same word, 3677. It says at the new moon. Strong's Exhaustive Concordance, time appointed. That's actually what the translation is. They're surmising full moon, they're surmising new moon. This argument has been going on forever. The actual exhaustive concordance means time appointed. At the time appointed, we will go at the appointed time. Do you understand that? At the time appointed, we will go at the appointed time. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will not. Because it will surely come, it will not tarry. At the appointed time. So we go over here. I looked up the other word, Strong's Concordance 4150, appointed time. Time appointed. This means kaseh. Doesn't have anything to do with the moon. This is the time appointed, and this is the appointed time. Bible Strong's Hebrew 4150, moed, this is moedim. Strong's Concordance, moed, appointed time. It's a place or meeting, original word of speech, noun, masculine transliteration, moed, phonetic spelling, definition, appointed time. Over here. Kaseh, or kaseh, apparently from kasa, at the new moon. Strong's exhaustive, now here's the actual translation. They're surmising, that's why they have it in parentheses, but here's the actual translation in Strong's exhaustive concordance. It's the time appointed, or kaseh. You see, it's reversed. Time appointed, appointed time. Thought that was pretty cool. Now, Spinebreaker, of course, never just stops there. He keeps on going, and he says, look at tarry and tarry. Remember back here, it said, though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Spinebreaker said those two tarries are under different numbers. They're not the same word. He said, look at tarry and tarry. I think this might be another mistranslation. The two other meanings, instead of though it tarry, wait for it, it won't tarry, is wait for it, though it lingers, it surely won't be left behind, remain behind. So though it does tarry, you won't be left behind. Hang in there, because it's two completely different words. Those two words for tarry are not the same word. That's what I'm saying. When you go in to do these translations, that's speaking of the moon. I'm sorry, but the moon has two words found in the Bible. The words found in the Bible for moon is yarich, which is 3394, and selene in Greek, 4582, or I might have that reversed. Chodesh does not mean moon. It means new month. It is always 2320, Strong's Concordance. And kaseh is 3677, which I showed you. They have different exact meanings. People might be saying, well, appointed time, that's got to be the moon. It's not the moon. It has nothing to do with the moon. If you can't go into the exact translation, then we're always going to be confused about that. So, thanks, Spinebreaker, for that help. Go do a study on the word tarry and tarry, let alone the words for, what did I say? Oh, moed, appointed time and time appointed. They're different. There is a difference when you say time appointed and appointed time. Tarry means it's not going to wait, but you're not going to be left behind. That's what it says. That's the exact literal translation. Translating from the original language into ours has always been difficult. But you can go in, like I don't know how to do it as well as he does, but you can go in and find the exact translation. So, encouragement, just keep watching. With everything going on, there's planes up there sniffing. Why do they need to be up there? You would think, like, if a nuclear blast went off somewhere, everyone would be on their phones, unless it causes an EMP and nobody can get on their phones. I don't know. I don't know how that works. Is that a thing? If you're close enough to the nuclear blast, your power's going out. If you're far enough away, you won't know what just happened. You think it's an earthquake, I guess. But so they got this plane, several of them up there for the first time ever, flying around. So, and then we have Israel invaded. That's a big deal. That couldn't have happened on a more perfect day. There is no question that it happened right on the 8th day, before the 8th day was finished. Completely after the 7th day, 14 hours after the 7th day was done. Only 10 hours left in the 8th day, so there's no question. And that's where we're pretty much at right now. What time is sunrise in Israel? if the timeline is off by 1 day, the timeline's off by 4 days, if the time's off by 6 days, there's a bunch of variables in here. My timeline's dead on from when the day of equal parts happens, but that doesn't mean that God has to use this timeline. He might be using the one that Jesus used back then. So I don't know. It's been 2,000 years since then, so who knows? I mean, of course, Jesus knew about the Gregorian calendar that we thought up 500 years ago to fix the problem with the Julian calendar because it was off. I mean, ours is off 1 day by every 3,300 years. I think that one was off 1 day by every, is it 400 or 300 years? So it was pretty bad. So anyway, go to a quiet place by yourself. Nobody needs to know, and you don't need to tell anybody except the Lord in your heart. Like always, we're running out of time. And maybe the last, that God's not waiting. The date's been set, but he knows when that prodigal son's going to come back or that prodigal daughter's going to come back. He knows that. And so he's not waiting for that, but he already knew when it was going to happen. And he set up the date in accordance with that. So like, comment, share, and subscribe. And we will chat with you again later. And hope and pray that it happens soon, because our patience is wearing out, right? We're getting impatient, and it's difficult. I know less. I'm like, what's happened? What's going on? We're running out of time for this year. So just keep watching and keep praying. Pray. So we will chat with you all again later. Hopefully the volume worked.